My earliest video game memories are always redirected to Sly Cooper and the gang. Never did my parents worry that the thieving Casanova would be a bad influence on me, even in my young age, and they were always the ones to be the first in line to snatch up my favorite game upon release.
You look familiar to me. Are you in law enforcement?
I often deal with police while on the job.
Every time I was greeted with incredible gameplay, story, and increasingly advancing visuals. The Sly Cooper fans were blessed with 3 games within the span of 3 years. The first being released in 2002, and the last being released in 2005. But suddenly, they had stopped coming. Ending on a good note, the fans were happy with what they got, but there was certainly a want for more. There'd been no talk of a new game for nearly 6 years until an announcement encouraged every Sly fan to return to their favorite criminal. Sly Cooper 4, Thieves in Time, was to be released in 2013, and everyone had their hopes up. Sanzaru, a company that had participated in all of the previous games, was going to bring back the gang with new visuals, concepts, and new ideas. But don't let the ratings fool you. Sly fans definitely didn't get what they waited 8 years for. To start, Sly Cooper and the gang got a complete makeover. The characters looked admittedly better, but the game lost its comic book feel that everyone had come to love. Even with the new look, the game still had tons of potential. Going back in time to meet Sly's ancestors sounds pretty awesome, right? Well, that's what I thought too, but my mind quickly changed when I noticed the lack of persistence in lore. Sly was going back to wrong timelines to meet ancestors who had been changed for the Sly Cooper 4 appeal, and everything just seemed wrong. It didn't feel like you were playing a Sly Cooper game. Characters were lacking and were often almost cringy in the sense that the game felt as if it were targeted at 4-year-olds, despite its aging audience. In the previous 3 Sly Coopers, each level faced was a major challenge. You do the quests that'd probably take at least 1 to 6 tries, progress in the story, and then finally face a final boss of the level that would take tons of attempts.
Show your bling and let me shine you.
I have no idea what you're saying. And your suit sucks.
No!
It was something I cherished about the Sly Cooper games, but in Sly Cooper 4, each task could be finished within 1 to 2 tries, and their difficulty made it seem more like an easy chore than a game. On top of that, a lot of the tasks were filler games just to make the level last longer, whilst in the other 3 games, each task had a purpose that contributed to the overall goal. The gameplay value of Sly Cooper 4 was more like a bunch of mini-games crammed into a lacking story. The progression per game was nothing, until you do 1 quest, 10 tasks later that would finally allow for some progression in the story. It drove me nuts. The best thing about Sly was the challenge. It was the fact that the game appealed to both adults and children alike, and allowed for some seriously hard but fun challenges. Gameplay is encouraged by the idea that you're working towards a goal that'll bring some seriously cool benefits. But in Sly 4, your goal was often nothing. Your goal was to serve people and make them happy, and suddenly your game time turned into unbeneficial chore time. On top of the quests being incredibly easy to finish, the bosses you worked your way up to were nothing like they once were. The bosses in the first 3 Sly Cooper games were fearsome characters that you dreaded going against. In Sly 4, you're introduced to bouncy, colorful, laughingstock type villains that completely ruin the mood. It's comparable to going against a terrifying T-Rex on one hand and fighting Barney the dinosaur on the other. A good example would be the Clockwork Battle. This boss was so hard and had my anxiety through the roof. I would try playing it, but ultimately get scared going against this giant, terrifying bird, and yet despite my fear, I kept trying. Victory never tasted better. In Sly 4's boss fights, however, it's sort of a wait until this evil genius makes a dumb mistake and then hit him when he's down, and repeat it over and over and over again until he's dead. You don't even get the satisfaction in killing the Sly 4 villains because they all look like this compared to this. It feels more like a joke. It's almost shocking to see how similar games and chores are. Plenty of games will have you running around doing unamusing tasks, but the overall goal of the task will keep you entertained. And sprinkled throughout those chore-type tasks, maybe you'll find a clue or trigger an event, and that keeps it exciting and keeps the player on their toes. Sly Cooper 4 was the opposite. It was easily compared to your mom forcing you to clean your room if you wanted to play games. It was simply not fun. And to tie it all together, the first 3 Sly Cooper games involved adult humor and childish humor to keep everyone entertained. But Sly 4 sounded as if it was scripted to be a toddler-oriented show. The jokes were something you'd groan at or you'd do your best to mute, because it sounded so childish it was embarrassing. Sanzaru, in my opinion, appealed to the wrong audience, and it was something all previous players of the franchise had noticed. Sly 4 enforces the need for challenge. Without challenge, there is nothing admirable about a game. It's not challenging to click a pen, but people do it for idle entertainment, and Sly Cooper is exactly that. But in this case, the pen are just different styles of reused tasks in the hopes of an outcome that might be remotely interesting. You shouldn't need to hope for fun when playing a game. It should just come naturally, and Thieves in Time fails in that aspect.
This is gonna be fun.